Why is that? Oh, because that's why. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Glad to have you. Excuse me.
Oh, yeah?
Part of my voice that is hopefully going to hold out through the rest of the podcast. But
You want me to read the news?
no, it's okay. There's not that much of it. I'll manage.
I know a little something about not being able to speak mid-show. So
No, I don't expect it's going to go to that level. And you know, I think
added in some extra stuff on the news, but I can say that the non-bold stuff, or we can skip it. I was just I was like, who is this man?
You could feel free to add color as necessary.
Okay. So I put in some notes on who is this man, but just say whatever you want, and I can.
Yeah. Because I like had a thought about, oh, maybe we should just like delay a day, and I figured that's going to be like even more painful than whatever my voice is going to deal with. So, well, I'll power through it. It's fine. If I have to take a day off tomorrow because I can't talk, it's not the worst thing in the world.
oh yeah, gotta check out this Rainbow DK. But then I would have to play standard.
Yeah, that's the trade-off
Those two
right
things
now.
That's like the most Edelweiss 2 sentences.
Yeah.
I like my Murglezoth Paladin.
You could play Reno Priest.
No. Tyrion and Murgles. Fine.
Tyrion and Murgle. You're playing anything, or you?
Yeah,
just...
it's anything
oh,
is off.
Oh, okay. 30 cards, I hope.
What? You can't fit both of those into 30 card.
Oh God, why would you play anything with more than 30 cards? It's awful.
No, because I don't usually need it, but sometimes I do, right? It's just like you get to run Finjit. We'll
this is our conflicting approach to combo decks coming into the spotlight. Because I always go for the combo and you just kill people.
This isn't combo. This is just value.
You gotta just play what your hand says and kill them.
Yeah.
But my hand says heal most of the time when I'm playing that deck.
But if you're all in on the combo, it's much easier to get disrupted.
Oh, nobody's playing Disruption in Twist.
Playing
except for all the people that are playing Disruption in Twist. All right. Are we ready to start recording or?
Yeah.
Okay.
But wait, let me open, the recording program.
Okay. Yeah, well that is a prerequisite, yes.
Okay. File, new, audio file. God, what episode is this?
417.
417, thank you. Yeah, 1, sure. There's a 1 in there somewhere. Yeah. It's like Lingo where it shows up, but it's got a red background. It's like in the number, but not in that position.
Okay.
In the channel Pums and Memes, they have do everything as 1 instead of the number. Okay. Recording.
All right. So, 3, 2, 1, clap. 3, 2, 1, clap. Starting the show in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to episode 417 of Coin Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, October 12th, 2023 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergan, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From Northrend, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Oh,
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. As always, thank you for leaving us your kind reviews. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice. Always helps other people find the show. So, in terms of Life and Ladder this week, I did a very guilty pleasure thing, which is I rewatched the Twilight Saga.
Oh no.
It just brings back all these warm and fuzzy feelings of reading those books when I was in high school, because that's like when they were coming out. And in retrospect, that should have been an early sign. But so yeah, that was delightful. But besides that, I've been trudging along through Baldur's Gate 3 and playing a bunch of Twist, because we've got that new version of the Wonders format where you can have anywhere between 30 and 40 cards in your life total matches. So I've been playing Murgle Zoth Paladin, I've been calling it, which is basically just a hybrid of, I smushed anything Paladin together with just running like good death rattle things. So like Deathlord, Sludge Belcher, Cairn, Tyrion. That's about it. And N'Zoth, right? To bring
Sylvanas?
him back.
No Sylvanas?
No, because Paladin doesn't have a way of killing its own Sylvanas, right? That's sort of
yeah,
my
I guess.
criteria
Yeah. Okay,
for
fair
running
enough.
Sylvanas.
Yeah.
Warrior, it's messy, but you can at least shield slam it. Shaman's the best because you do the ancestral thing where you like kill it and bring it back right away.
Oh,
I forget what it's called.
Ancestral Spirit. I mean, that's. I guess
I
if
think
you're
that
already
one gives
going.
it the death rattle.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Like killing it and like not resurrection, but like reincarnate or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And so that's really great with Sylvanas. Warlock always had, the unstable.
Power overwhelming.
Power overwhelming. Well, I guess I don't know if that's in Twist, but
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've seen.
it is? Yeah.
Yeah. There's. I mean, the Leroy combo is in Handlock, so.
Hilarious. But yeah, so been enjoying that Paladin deck. Feels really solid, and rather than sort of having the issue of like, oh no, we didn't find our Murlocs fast enough, we don't quite have enough damage. It's just you play a bunch of value things, and I've been doing a lot of, okay, let me pressure to force them to Reno, and then I Alex them from 40 back down to 15. So
very nice.
yeah. In general, just with a lot of 40 health decks, Alex is really great to have around in case you've just been like fighting really hard for board, and then eventually people just aren't expecting it. you Alex followed by anything. I've missed playing with Finja.
Finja's great.
So great. Yeah.
Finja was always great. I loved Finja, even when I didn't really know what a good deck was. To play him in, it was just like Murlocs and Finja.
Water
That's what I
Rogue
want.
was one of my early
Water
favorite rogue decks.
Yeah.
It's just Finja, Bluegills, Old Murkai, War Leaders, and just like Miracle Rogue stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that was the
That sounds
Finja
really
Force
fun.
5. That's what that was. That was the Finja Force 5.
Yeah.
Those 5 minions.
Although back then, War Leader gave things +2/+1.
Yeah. Did we have Murkai? I thought Murkai rotated with the first standard rotation.
It's in Twist right now.
No. I'm saying like originally
I
when Water Rogue was a thing.
yeah,
I don't
it
think
may
we
not
had
have been
Murkai.
there. But
Because I think
just
that's why it was
getting-
Finja Force 5, because it was those 5
Uh-huh.
minions, less Murkai.
Right. But Bluegill was like fine, right? It was 4 charge damage, and because you're rogue, you could shadow step it. So you would like Finja, kill something, get your Bluegill and War Leader, hit them for 4, shadow step it, hit them for another 4, and then of course you also had Leroy. So it was just like shadow step abuse deck with charge damage, and probably I don't know if Tinkmaster Sharp Sword Oil was there, but I don't know. It was just like Rogue. Do a bunch of damage, kill them with charge.
Just normal rogue things.
Yep.
The rogue we still have today in spirit.
Yeah.
How about you, Magesa? What have you been up to?
I've actually been playing a lot of Hearthstone. I've been playing a lot of Paladin, both the pure and impure, like Garden's Grace buff Paladin, which if you haven't seen this deck, instead of doing like a dude Paladin, you're running Spotlight. I think this list came from Sunk. And so you have your Righteous Protector, your Sanguine Soldier. The original list was also running Click Clocker and was not pure. And you have Spotlight. And so obviously, of course, your ideal is to have the 5/5 on turn 2.
Can you remind people who have not seen that card played ever what Spotlight does?
Yes. So Spotlight is from Festival, and it sacrifices a divine shield, a friendly divine shield, and turns it into a 5/5 elemental. So just a big dumb guy, but you get him for 2 mana. You can get him down early. Having the divine shield can be awkward, so this was never really played. But if we just want to kill druids quickly with large boards that are maybe not possible for them to completely rake, they still do it. But a little bit more likely that they won't just rake it down. Spotlight is really good, and then you have some of the typical cards. You have Boogie Down. I've actually at World 8 suggestion added Shimmering Sunfish, which was a card from Sunken City. It's a 2/5 beast battle cry. If you're holding a holy spell, gain taunt and divine shield. It's just sticky. It's hard for decks that are trying to hit your face. You don't really have a lot of healing, so that's helpful. You've got Katori Lightblade, which is the one where when you cast a holy spell on him, it also casts it on another minion. And this is all great because what you really want to do is find your Guarding Graces, either naturally or with Order in the Court, and play them for 0 really early on. And you also have Horn of the Windlord. You also have Keeper's Strength. Keeper's Strength is really important. I have spent so many games going, I just need Keeper's Strength. Keeper's Strength is the new card. Give a friendly minion +2/+2 and deal its attack damage to all other minions for 4 mana. And that's just really helpful in a lot of matchups. Kind of your only real big comeback. Some people have been running Liadrin. I've been in and out on Liadrin. I've been trying out Crusader Aura, but if you can't, you're not going as wide, and so that's tough. And I have been playing Countess. I was playing Countess, went off Countess, came back to Countess, and the first game back with Countess, I was facing a Rainbow Mage. I had a really good start. They managed to stabilize. They got me down to 5, but didn't have any direct damage in their hand. Managed to do like 3 damage and clear my board. I was at 2. I play the Countess and 1 invitation because it's turn 9, and I get Mukla. So I play Mukla, kill their 1 minion, and fill their hand with bananas. That burns their Arcane Worm. So they still have no damage in their hand. So all they can do is ping my face and clear my Mukla. And then my next 2 invitations were Tess and King Crush. And I had Crusader Aura in my hand, just for good measure.
Seems good. Just 20 damage.
20 damage, plus the Countess had stuck, so 29. They were at 20, so I definitely needed both.
Yeah. 29 for sure.
Yeah.
29 for sure ends it. I posted salt for my opponent on that because I should not have won that game. They're going to need our explanations after that game.
This list I'm seeing of a Garden's Grace Paladin from Alucard. Like the fact that Foul Egg is the only thing making it not pure is kind of funny.
Excuse me, if it has Foul Egg in it, it is Breakfast Paladin by default.
That's right. Yeah. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
It makes me want to like take out something else for a single copy of Freebird just to have the option
Oh
of
God. Of course
charge
you would.
damage. It's the only Archminion available.
I forget who it was who's in Discord this week who would like run into a fake Edelweiss on ladder, and
It's been happening often.
a lot. And it's like, well, if you didn't have to read any of the cards that were played, it wasn't the real Edelweiss.
I think it was also a 40 card Blood Decay, and there's no way.
No, that's against Edel's religion. That's not happening. Like,
There's also one Horde of the Windlord. I mostly used it for clearing things, actually, or getting rid of taunts so that I could go face. But it's been a fun deck. It does actually have a pretty good matchup into Druid, although they can still, be a Druid, do Druid things, gain 20 armor and clear all your stuff, and then mind control your best minion. And that still happens. I played a little bit of the Arcane Hunter that instead of the secrets is running like bananas and the monkeys with the 1/4s because that was really annoying to face, so I thought I should do it. And I did manage to run a Druid out of stuff, which was not what I was expecting to happen in that matchup.
well, okay.
So I just cleared all their things, and then their last bit of damage didn't matter because I finally went face enough to kill them. They, of course, had gained, umpteen gazillion amounts of armor, or they would have died a long time ago. But at a certain point, I'm going, wait a minute. They're like at fatigue. I still have some ability to clear things. I'm just going to wait, and they're just going to be out of stuff. And I'm just going to keep putting taunts in the way so that their Ignis weapon doesn't matter. So that was entertaining. And the last thing, I know I've gone long, I just wanted to update on Enrage Warrior. There's been a lot of activity on that in the Discord, and our resident warrior experts, Enzo and World 8, have been, and others as well, have been experimenting with a really low to the ground Enrage Warrior. They actually cut one of the animas, which is insane. But they're going for not having to do a big anima setup turn, but you've got like Vicious Slither Spear, and you've got Blazing Power, and they did put back in one Trial by Fire. You have Pazik, you have Olgra, but not Remornia, and definitely not Grom. And it's just like make really big stuff out of nowhere very quickly that can go face the turn that it's played. And it's apparently doing really well for them. I haven't had a chance to play it myself, but I think they're both playing at really top legends, so they're seeing a lot of druids.
I was gonna say, this sounds like a
if you're not there, it might be a different meta for you.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if you don't have an anima extractor, then the faceless can't soak the anima extractor buffs. That's just smart. Like
that really actually is the reasoning, I think.
Well, I think they found someone who was straight up playing no anima extractors, and were like, huh. And I think that just kind of opened their minds to like, okay, what if we just do all this other stuff to be really low to the ground? Yeah. Look, I can definitely sympathize with just wanting to murder druids all the time. That was my early Hearthstone days, was just
early Hearthstone, what, like last druid. Week?
Well, look, since Jade's and really spreading plague.
Yeah.
No, that's not even true. Since Force Roar. I'm just like scarred from Force Roar, and I've never recovered and have hated Druid ever since.
That was the first thing I ever really like learned to play around, where I finally was like, wait, I have to count how much health I have and make sure I'm not in range of this if I'm facing a Druid. It's like baby Megasa 101 learning card games.
Yeah, whatever they have in play, it's that plus 14 plus 2 for each thing they have in play. Yeah, it's awful.
Savage Roar math. Those were the days. Well, I have been avoiding standard because not only is it druid, I'm at MMR where I would see druids, and now the Vicious Syndicate report came out today, and apparently the cure to druid is secret rogue, which no, thank you. Nope. Not gonna do it. Not going there. Because that is the road to the salt mine, is what that is. So I've also been playing a bunch of Twist, and I realized that I think Goku was posting a few like off meta lists in the Discord earlier in the week, and there was a Malygos Druid. I played a little bit of that the other day. It was fine, but I'm not set up for that like mentally. But he also posted a Reno N'Zoth priest, and like it doesn't take much. I will have you know it. So it's got all of like the N'Zoth minions that you already mentioned, Edel. Plus it runs Sylvanas because you can death it.
Right.
It runs, and it goes even deeper. Well, it runs Deathlord because it's a little bit of disruption against mostly against the Malygos Druids, because that's one of the bad matchups that I saw a fair amount. And it goes deep enough to run piloted Sky Golem and Sneed's Old Shredder. And I crafted both of those cards for this deck.
Wow.
And
that's commitment.
It is you like, and I'm one of those people who doesn't press the button. So I had to go find things to dust to get the dust for this. Like, that's what I had to do. I actually named the deck Crafted Sneeds for this, because like that's, but it worked. I mean, it was, I was climbing with it. I mean, it was kind of spiky. It depended, like the matchup against the Warlock basically depends on how early they find Jiraxis, because you have a lot of removal, but not enough for a 6/6 every turn. Though I did Thought Steal a Jiraxis after I played Raza, and free 6/6s are pretty good. I don't know if you would have thought that, but they are. And I queued into one mirror that was the most aggressive priest mirror I have ever played. Like, we both just played Sky Golems on curve and we're just punching each other in the face with Sky Golems. Like, no trading until somebody played a Sludge Belcher. Just back and forth. I'm going to, here are all my minions and I'm going to hit you with them, and nobody's trading. I don't know if it was because...
That's my kind of priest mirror.
I don't know if it was like the come down from the Enraged Warrior climb or what, but it was just like, you know what? I'm not trading. And they said the same thing. And it's just like, okay, we're just going to punch each other in the face and see who wins. So it was it was good though. I mean, I had a bit of a rough run at the end of that stream, but I had a pretty good win rate with it. And I'm still sitting at like, I don't know, Diamond 4 right now, just because I haven't been, the games take a while, as one would expect. So I've been doing some other things. I got I got sucked into the Deep Rock Galactic Survivor demo from Steam Next Fest yesterday, and that sucked like 4 hours away from my life, which is in a good way. And I've been playing, I bought the Horizon Forbidden West DLC, so I've been playing that the last couple days. It's very good. I mean, the whole game's good. So, but it was on sale finally. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't done that, and I needed, like, Maureen's been substitute teaching, so normally, like, on the days that I work from home, we would play Diablo while I rode the bike in the morning. But then she's been substitute teaching, so she's been leaving before that. So I'm like, well, don't play Diablo without me. Like, oh, okay. So I needed something else to do. But that's been very good. And I'm still raising money for Boston Children's Hospital also. And so far I've raised $400. So of the $2,000 goal. Yes. So I'm doing that the rest of the month for the rest of my stream. So and I'll be mentioning on the show too. So if you're in a position to donate and contribute and make some kids' lives better, particularly any other kids who are having to go to the neurology department there, like my kids have, then that would be it would be a mitzvah as it were. So, but yeah, I'm happy about that's getting kicked off well, and and I'm trying to make sure my voice stays throughout the rest of the podcast, but that's neither here nor there. So.
We'll cover for you if you lose your voice, for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying not to. I
believe the Horizon DLC is out. I've like barely gotten into the base game because of it's just been crazy, with Elden Ring and then all the games that came out this year. And I have also just not wanted to risk getting nauseous playing Horizon.
Mm.
Like, it's easy enough to play an RPG with the baby asleep on me on the couch.
Oh yeah,
But-
that's yeah.
And I can maybe do something like Ghost of Tsushima, which I still haven't finished the like DLC for that. But yeah, the idea of playing a game that will potentially make me very nauseous. I'm just not risking it with
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
baby.
Yeah, and it's like you have to have beaten the main game to start the DLC, and then it's like
Oh, okay.
I haven't played the game in a year, and it's like, okay, go kill these things. Like I don't remember what the controls are. Like it's like
Uh-huh.
I was like 5 hours in before I had to fight like a non-machine, like before I had to fight like a person, and the fighting against people is completely different than fighting against the machines. And like I completely forgotten like all of the combos. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna swing my spear at you because I don't remember what to do, but I know swinging my spear will work, so I'm just gonna swing my spear and hope you die. Like that's what I'm doing, I guess. But it's
I just
yeah.
hide really far away and snipe them.
Oh no, this was not in a situation where you could hide. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't wanna
haven't
spoil
played this
anything,
game, but I am always like hiding. It took me a long time to learn to even just like play Hades in like an aggressive manner. This is kind of surprising given Hearthstone, but I just had the bow and I would run away and snipe things, and I had the slowest completion times.
Oh, that's
I
always
would
me
complete
too.
every time, but
I was a shield main, so however slow you were going, I was going way slower. Like with the like shield bash, thing, or like when you were throwing the shields and poisoning everything. Like those were my builds. Like that was it.
We are the opposite of Hat, right? Hat is just fists. Let me get in there.
Yeah. Nope.
Whereas my favorite was Hestia, which is basically the shotgun.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just sit back and charge the shield. That was my move. Like that was it. Which I'm sure surprises absolutely no one, but here we are. So
I can't wait for Hades 2 next year.
Oh yeah.
Which seems like it'll have spellcasting. All I know is Apollo is one of the ones, and Apollo was very much missing for me in the first Hades game. So
I still remember. I don't know whether it ended up in the edited audio, but listening to the raw audio when Hades 2 was announced, you guys
In the
like
middle of the
stopped
podcast?
mid-sentence for Hat to freak out for at least 5 minutes.
Well, we do have some light news before we talk about one of our evergreen topics that we haven't done in a while. But we should probably jump into that.
Okay, so not too much. It seems like we're kind of in a calm before the storm it's phase. Like there seems to be a bunch of stuff brewing, but nothing big, but a lot of little things that are kind of leading to some speculation, I guess. So we had the BlizzCon collection, which was announced this week, which is the digital bundle for BlizzCon. This used to be the virtual ticket. So if you buy a ticket for BlizzCon, you get like a package of virtual goods with it. And you could also buy a virtual ticket that would give you access to the live streams from the convention, and that would also come with a goodie pack. And now they're going to be streaming all of the panels for free, so you don't need to buy a virtual ticket in order to watch the show if you're not going. But they are still selling the digital bundles separately. So there's a standard and a legendary bundle, or epic and legendary bundle, I suppose. So the epic bundle comes with a set of packs, and it's going to, I don't believe this has the signature legendary, but it does have. I'm trying to get a list from here of what is the difference between them. But the legendary pack ultimately has a pack of 5 regular standard packs, 5 golden standard packs, a BlizzCon card back, and then a signature legendary. And the signature legendary, the Hearthstone Mystery Signature Legendary card will be revealed by November 5th, 2023, and will be available in game by November 14th, 2023. So November 5th is the second day of BlizzCon. So presumably it's going to be revealed on the first day of BlizzCon because that's when all the announcements are. But given that these are probably FTC regulation type things, that they're giving themselves some leeway. The available in-game by November 14th, 2023 has been raising some eyebrows, especially given that the Titans Battle Pass ends around the same time, which is as opposed to in December. So there is speculation that we might be getting the new expansion sooner rather than later. It also could just be that they're really covering themselves because when we've gotten an expansion revealed at BlizzCon, the patch has not come out until the following Tuesday. And then, because all the developers are at the show, they're not going to drop the patch with the pre-order at the show. So that also might be what's going on. But in any event, we know that there's going to be a signature legendary. Typically in the past, when we've gotten a golden legendary from BlizzCon, it's been a golden version of the free legendary that everybody gets when they announce the expansion. That may or may not be the case this year, but just, historically, that's been what it is. But you also get a mount in Diablo 4. You get a Diablo 4 seasonal battle pass. You get a Overwatch 2 season battle pass. This is the season that they're doing the Diablo skins in Overwatch. Though, unfortunately, it's the premium and not the legendary one that gives you the Lilith skin, which is a bit of a disappointment, but what are you going to do? And also there is, and Celestalon tweeted, and more. So there will be, it's just in response to this, that there is other stuff coming. So I don't know what they're cooking up. I mean, one would expect that this is going to be, given that this is the first BlizzCon in 4 years, they're going to be cooking up a lot of stuff. So hopefully that means new features and stuff like that are going to be, or a new mode maybe. I mean, they did the last time we had a BlizzCon, they announced Battlegrounds. So they have a tough act to follow. But yeah, we will see. But I redeemed mine, and I got, of course, I opened up the golden packs, and I didn't wait for the next expansion, and I got a golden Shogal. So,
whoops.
Yep, that was. I didn't think that one through. So,
you failed the marshmallow test.
Yeah, I sure did. I sure did. So
as Valera would say, mistakes were made.
Yes. So, in other news, apparently we have a new game director. So I saw Ben Hearthstone was quoting Storm Rage with a picture of Tyler Bierman's LinkedIn profile, which says creative game director for Hearthstone. And apparently he's been the director of Hearthstone since April of 2023. So like the past 7 months, and there wasn't any sort of a public announcement made. I don't know where Storm Rage came up with this, but that's, I mean, it's good to know that there's a game director. We haven't really talked about it a lot since Ixar left. But 7 months would be a long time for like an interim game director. So yeah, I think, I mean, Megasa, you were doing some investigative reporting today. So you want to talk about what you found?
So I found the LinkedIn profile, and it looks like Bielman has a Magic the Gathering background where he was creative director and director of new business, and he worked on the sets for Mirrodin, Darksteel, and Ravnica in the 2000s. To which I had the response, "Oh, I understand that reference," because I actually played Ravnica. And designed for some other trading card games. And there's actually, I linked in the show notes that Blister Guy tweeted, there's a 2021 Drive to Work podcast episode number 831, where the Magic the Gathering head designer Mark Rosewater interviews Spielman about one of those sets, Mirrodin. So that episode, if you're curious to hear from him about a different trading card game, that's available. I haven't had a chance to listen to that. And since then, he's worked on a lot of different video games. He spent almost 12 years at Microsoft, was a senior designer for Gears of War 4 and some of the spin-off mobile titles, and a, quote, unannounced AAA project. And according to his LinkedIn, he says he holds 2 game design US patents. I don't know what in, but that's cool. And then now is the game director of Hearthstone. So hopefully we will hear about this through official channels and maybe hear from him soon.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe at BlizzCon. I don't know. That it definitely seems like he's not too eager for the spotlight, but
Yeah. Or just hasn't had an opportunity, really, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that being a game director is not always, like, you're not always going to get someone that wants to really be out there. I think it was pretty rare that we had, maybe not rare, but it probably is, you know, pretty even that you have some directors that are totally want to engage with the audience and others that are like, no, that's what we have community people for, right?
Yeah.
But having, you know, Broad and
Ben Lee.
Ben Lee. Yeah, I was like, they're both Ben. How do I distinguish? Yeah, Ben Lee, much more outgoing individuals, it seems.
And,
or they're just hiding the fact that they couldn't find another Ben. You know, it's.
I mean, Hat's right there, but you know.
It's right there. You know, too soon, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, also like Ixar was never really like, he never made himself the face of the game when he was in that role. I mean, you know, part of it was that he was interim for part of the time, but I mean, he was the game director for a while after being interim, and he never was in any like videos or, you know, presentations or anything. I mean, again, we haven't had a BlizzCon since before Ben Lee became the game director. Like that was still Ben Thompson who was doing the presentation at BlizzCon in 2019. Right. So like there hasn't been a lot of opportunities, and I mean Ben Lee did show him did end up being in some of those videos, and you know, I don't know if that's, well, I guess that was a BlizzCon Online that he was in, right? Like that would have been the opportunity that he was in when they announced Mercenaries. So that was the occasion for that. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's also a lot of public facing members of the dev team. He doesn't necessarily have to be out front. Like, you know, there are other people who are able to do that role. So yeah. So I mean, it's good to hear that there is someone there though. So that's good. Also, we got an update on their fight against the bots. They've been this has been an issue, particularly in Wild. I think, from what I understand, a lot of the bots were just hung out in Classic for a while, and now that Classic's gotten turned into Twist, now they're in Wild at like Diamond 5, roughly. That's where they hang out. Because a lot of people have been saying that there's a lot of them that they have to kind of trudge through in order to climb. But they said that back in August, they gave an update on increased actions against bots. As promised, we kept up the fight. In August and September, we banned 66,945 more bot accounts. That number is just the accounts banned for bot activity, not including other actions like inappropriate names or in-game language violations. So they're not, you know, providing a lot more details anytime that you give any sort of detail about this. It just informs the bot makers so that they can countermeasure. So I won't expect to hear much more other than a number like this, but they are working against it. There is, you know, that is something that they're taking seriously, and I believe that's part of the in-game reporting, right? That you can report that someone looks like a bot.
I want to ask something here. What is the purpose of these bots, right? Like, they don't make anyone money, do they?
Well, XP, right? XP, so they're grinding gold.
Okay, but like, so people are doing this to like, so that they don't spend as much time themselves playing to.
I guess, well, one of the things that's contributing to this, I think, and I might be making this up. So, but I believe, I mean, when they closed the China server, right? There were a lot of players who wanted to play, but they lost their collections.
Right.
So if they were trying to rebuild their collections, they're not going to be able to do that right away. So it would stand to reason that at least some of them have, resorted to bots to try to grind the XP so that they can get their collections back to play. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, clearly they're climbing if they're getting up to Diamond 5 and Wild, though which is kind of a sad state of affairs in and of itself. But like, it's something that you're not going to get to Legend with it, and even then, like, why? So I think it's really just to get XP so that they can build up a collection. I think that's the goal of it.
Yeah, I guess I'm just like,
it seems like there's a better use of your time. Yes.
I can't imagine it being so useful. Like, I mean, for me, I would have to do all kinds of like figuring out how to do it before I would even begin. If I was someone who like suddenly lost my account and was like, okay, well, I'm looking into ways of rebuilding a collection, but like, I don't know, then the bot gets banned potentially, and you lose it all.
You start over again.
So,
yeah.
So like what's the goal here?
I mean, one thing I would wonder is if you build up enough gold on an account, then you sell the login information.
That is what I was wondering, right? Is if there's some kind of weird market like that where it's like you run a bunch of these in hopes that some of them slip through, and then you sell the account. But I'm just like, all this stuff is so outside of my world that I'm just like, how can this possibly be worth it? Like, if you try to do it just for XP and gold for yourself, like, play the game. I don't know. Or if you don't want to play the game so bad, play something else.
Yeah,
I think
Chad is saying that they are selling the accounts, and that's the goal. So I guess, if they're selling an account at less than it would be to buy all the cards to be able to rebuild an account, then that would make sense. I think
it's intimidating for a new player looking at how many cards there are and how many cards you don't have. And so I could understand why someone who's not sure how much money they want to put in this, but not really willing to spend the time, like, might be attracted to this. But I think also it's not, in my experience, and I am someone who's willing to put some money into the game, and that's not everyone's experience, but I know that the amount that it looks like you need to pay to get a full collection is not really as much as I have spent on trying to get what is now basically a full collection. And there are a lot of people who free to play and get a lot of decks.
Yeah.
But I also know, I was thinking about, I have some students who are interested in Hearthstone, and I'm like, how do I get them started? Because they're just going to sit there and say, well, I don't have all these cards. And I also don't want their parents coming after me for them saying that they want all these cards. Can they have the money for it? But so I can see how it would be intimidating for a new person, but this is, clearly makes the experience for people a lot worse. And if you were doing it for your own account, like, it's ruining your own rank. So the selling accounts makes a lot more.
Yeah, so and I guess it makes sense if you are like someone from China who can't buy cards, that then this is the only way to do it, right? Is to buy an account and then get gold from there. But
that I get, but I feel like the prevalence suggested that there must be some kind of like when someone tries this hard, it's got to be to make money, right? And,
Yeah,
and
oh,
so
yeah.
I'm always wondering like, so what's the angle? I just don't. That's so outside my world. Regarding the convincing parents, you just have the kids pretend to be interested in Magic first, show how expensive that is, and then it's like, oh yeah, the bundle, it's just $60. It's just what it is, right? It's not it's not, oh, you need 4 copies of this and 2 copies of this, and oh god, the lands are hundreds of dollars.
This is how I got into Magic in the first place, because I played Magic in the mid-90s before anybody knew what it was. And this was the alternative to my parents having to buy me a Super Nintendo and games for it, right? So compared to like $300 for the Super Nintendo and $70 a game, because they were $70 back then, oh, we can just get this $12 pack of cards and it'll be way cheaper.
So they thought. And then it turned out. Yes, no, it is actually, we have a Magic the Gathering club because the school has some cards that I convinced the school to get. And which was a trick. But I think, you know, I'm sitting there going like, I think they would really like Hearthstone, but how do I get this up and running? So that's a good plan. That's smart.
For anyone out there at a university, try and start a Magic the Gathering club. It's the greatest hack. We just got club funding to run booster drafts, or it was delightful, right? Like,
see, they didn't have like that was not a thing when I was in college. Like it was like I had my cards and no one to play with, and like one person who went to like a pre-release with me once. That was it.
It is building community. It is building social and executive skills. If you're trying to convince a school to let you do this with kids, I have a whole spiel. Just message me on the Discord.
That is such an amazing scam. That's fantastic.
Hey, I joined Theta Chi because of the Magic Club. Like so much of the leadership of the Magic Club were from Theta Chi. Also, their rush events were like improv or board game nights. So like,
sounds better. Yeah.
It was the equivalent of Sci-Fi Hall at Oberlin, because Oberlin has no Greek life, but they have like themed dorms you can join, and so Sci-Fi Hall was
that is
was
the
a
best
thing.
one. I don't know what the other ones are, but that is the best one.
It was.
All right, but you know, anyway, before we start selling everybody on Magic, we have tournaments to talk about, and that's not often a thing lately. So we should do that.
So Lobby Legends is this weekend. It is going to be the 14th and 15th. I suppose it was this weekend, depending on when you're listening to this, but 9 a.m. Pacific or 6 p.m. CEST, which I always forget what that one represents, but
Central Europe Standard Time.
Thank you. And yeah, it's same as usual, right? They're doing the format where you have to get to a certain number of points, and then you're allowed to, or you have to claim a first place to win the whole thing. But there are 2 starting lobbies, 16 players. Lobby A has Beater Babbitt from the United States, Dapido from, I believe, Philippines. I'm going to butcher this, but Jagunse from South Korea, Jeef from the United States, Sesese from Japan, Seville from Poland, Sliders, I think, from France, Zorg from Germany. And then Lobby B, Alutemu, who I guess is just all BGs now, is done with Standard. But from Japan, Citro from Germany, Dog from the United States, familiar face, Eternal Alex from Japan, Satellite from Japan, Sato Nankalo from Japan, you're sensing a theme here, Tomb from Finland, and Waterloo from Canada. So, and Japan goes hard on BGs.
Yeah.
We've got 5 from there again.
This is actually low representation for them. Like we've had one where it was like half the field. So
yeah, people are catching up from other regions. But I'm not even like big into VGs, and I always find these really fun to watch. I know Soddle is working the event. I guess based on things he said, I think he must be casting. I know one time he did the like back end production stuff.
I believe Lorinda said on his stream that he was observing.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And they do a great job. So it's probably, I imagine it's Soddle Raven doing the commentary then.
Yeah. Which we would know if there was a post from HS Esports, but at least they tweeted on Monday, so we got progress there at least. So,
I mean, the article that I'm reading from is from friend of the show, Rain. So, yeah, there continues to be a distinct lack of publicity for this stuff, which is a bummer. But I don't know about for BGs, but at least for standard, Twitch viewership has been great, at least compared to what it was last year. So it's kind of embarrassing how strong the viewership is, considering the complete gutting of the department.
Yeah.
It's feels like such a missed opportunity, and that they gutted it before seeing whether the numbers would bounce back with the switch back to Twitch. And I know, Wicked, that you had posted that the viewership for the Magic World Championship was quite a bit lower than for the last Hearthstone Masters Tour.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. Yeah, it looks like it was it peaked at 30,000 viewers, the Magic World Championship, which is it's for Worlds, that's low, right? Like just a regular Masters Tour for Hearthstone was like 20,000, 21,000, something like that. So the fact Worlds usually gets a fair amount more. So the fact that it was, just that, I mean, that was also in a paper one where it's really hard to follow because you just can't see the cards. Right. So I'm not surprised that it's that much lower, but yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is, are those viewers translating into any revenue, right, for HS Esports? And that we don't know. And it could be that the number of viewers doesn't really, they're not seeing any difference in, what the game is doing, sales wise, if it's 5,000 viewers or 20,000 viewers. So
yeah, I mean, it's been made clear that their only interest is to keep people happy and do it for promoting the game. I don't know if they try to at least skim, some ad revenue, but yeah, it's just kind of sad when it feels like we had such great esports in the past, and then we get told well, it wasn't performing, so we're really reducing it, and we say, no, but actually it was YouTube.
It was just so, I would go looking for it and not be able to find it before when it was on YouTube. I do think the fact that there's only a few, it does mean that I pay more attention to, I really need to watch the Hearthstone Masters Tour this weekend.
It's true.
But that was still true that they had the big marquee events. They were really hard to find, and you wouldn't just sort of accidentally see, that this is going on when you were wanting to watch a game. So,
I mean, I think, and this is the last thing before we move on, because we don't need to spend a lot of time on this stuff, but I think there's just a big population difference in terms of people being on Twitch, and they would be looking to watch Hearthstone on Twitch. They see that a Hearthstone esports event is on, and so they go watch it, right? People and some people will see, actually this streamer I like is co-streaming it, and they'll go watch that instead. I think the numbers are way bigger. If we're talking wanting to do this as a promotional thing, you're getting all kinds of people that are watching the co-streams and stuff. But on YouTube, it's not built for that the same way. At least mine isn't. I don't go to my YouTube home and see, this is this person's live, right? YouTube's not built for that, even though they have live streaming. And so it was just a lot more friction to sort of accidentally watch things.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah.
But anyway,
routine rant about the lack of publicity for HS Esports. We'll see how Worlds is.
Because we haven't gotten to talk about esports in 2 months, so now we have to complain about it again because we have the opportunity. So that's how it goes. Yeah. But anyway, we could talk about we can move from complaining about esports to trying not to complain about losing, and what you can do to make that better.
All right. Well, as we are in a calm, possibly before a storm, we'll see what's going on next week. We wanted to do a more evergreen topic and something that has been talked about on the show, but it's been a while and we have new things to say. And I haven't been on the show since it was a topic, was improving your mental game. And we have a lot here about just your emotional relationship to the game and managing that's actually a huge part of being a good Hearthstone player and having fun with Hearthstone. I will put a disclaimer at the beginning. I am not perfect at this. I know none of us are perfect at this. My partner could tell you many stories about me being like, cat decks, which is what I call blood DKs because they play with their food and they don't kill them. I have to come up with nicknames for decks for him to help make them more memorable. So that one I think I'm on the record. It's my least favorite deck to play against. So, and I'm not the meditation teacher guru who has overcome things. By the way, I live in California. I know some meditation teacher gurus, and they are not perfect human beings free of neuroses either. I think all of what they do is helpful and they can really help people, and they can absolutely be neurotic. I won't give stories, but just like anyone else. So that's just a preface, but having played for a long time and thought about these things and just observed what works well and not so well for ourselves and for other people in the community, we had a lot of points that we think might be able to help everyone out there manage how you feel about losing, how you feel about your rank, how you feel about winning even, and focusing on improving more than rank, which is always difficult. I put a lot of notes here as usual. So as usual, you can find our show notes. I think the link may have been not quite right, but that's either fixed or will be fixed shortly.
It will get fixed. I've called IT and they're on it. IT is me. So both on the show and outside. So
we have lots of things and lots of links in there, but I don't think we need to go strictly through this or anything like that, but just some jumping off points to cover. So, Wicked, you had the first point that was here, which was meeting yourself where you are, not where you want to be.
Yeah, I think this is kind of important just in general for like managing expectations and just being kind to yourself in general. I mean, this is something that I've had to deal with. I mean, Hearthstone was good training grounds for this, but this is living life as a neurodivergent person is kind of feeds into this too, where it's very easy to compare yourself to a goal that you've set or compare yourself to other players, right? That either you think are the same skill as you and you're not doing as well as them or whatever. And it's very easy to say, well, I should be able to do this because, and if you're just starting out with a deck, you're not going to be able to play it at a high level. It's just like, that's just common sense, right? But it's very easy to say that in a calm, not in the moment situation like this, and not necessarily when you've lost your 6th or 7th game in a row with the deck because you're just not experienced enough with it. And like a lot of times when I've been stuck, right, like the way I've gotten myself out of it was to stop focusing on the fact that I was winning or losing and change that into, I'm just going to learn how to play this thing. Because then once you do that, it does a couple things for you. One is it takes the pressure off having to win because you're learning. And if you're going into it knowing that you are trying to learn it, then you don't expect yourself to be winning. And that's kind of meeting yourself where you are, right? And saying, I don't know this deck, so I'm going to lose some games, and that's going to be okay as long as I'm learning from it. And then that kind of takes the pressure off. And then you are going to lose some games, but if you're paying attention to it and you're trying to learn from it rather than just raging at like whatever card that that they pulled out of their deck or they discovered that killed you, right? Then you can eventually kind of push past that and then actually improve and get to the point where you want to be. But you're not just going to start there. And just giving yourself that permission to learn and improve rather than expecting yourself to be a top tier player or a player at whatever your goal state is. If you were that player, you would be there already. So just, it's worth recalibrating and kind of giving yourself permission to get to that point without putting the pressure on yourself that you have to be there right now.
I think it's important about if you're focusing, you need to focus on what you can actually control. So you can control when you play, but not when you win. And you can control what you're doing to try to improve. Or if you're just looking at, sometimes you're playing a game because you want to relax, definitely recognize if you're in a state where you can only relax if you're winning. Maybe Hearthstone is not what you should be playing to relax.
And I think for many, if not most of our listeners, we should maybe just say don't play Hearthstone to relax.
Yeah, generally.
If you're a certain amount of competitive, right, it's just not going to be relaxing if you are not on a winning streak. And so I've definitely fallen into this trap, particularly recently, where you go to play Hearthstone to relax and it doesn't go well. And I don't think I have been more angry, just like all around, just filled with rage and don't know what to do with it, than like the week after we got back from the hospital from having our baby, because we were just there for longer because of health complications of my wife. And finally, they let us go home. And even though we were doing this thing of like, I would take the nights and she would take the days so that we can each get more sleep, it was still just this huge adjustment, and you don't know what's wrong when they're crying, and there's all these things. And like, I probably swore more in that week than like in much of my life, because I'm just like, I don't know what to do. But it would be even worse because the other half of my swearing was she would be asleep, I'd be playing Hearthstone, and that rage just like transfers over to then I'm not playing well, which means I'm gonna lose more, which means I'm gonna be more mad, and I was losing my mind. And I know all of these things in abstract, but I couldn't pull myself from the cycle. I couldn't take a step back and see like, hey, maybe don't play Hearthstone right now because you've got other stuff going on.
Yeah. And it sucks because you have the time, right? And you want to do it because you have the time and you have the opportunity, but that doesn't necessarily line up with you actually being able to play at the level you would expect yourself to play at.
One thing that I found when I had a rather dramatic spike in rank where I had been, for a long time I was like gold, and then I remember being really excited when I hit platinum, probably in 2020, and then big spike to diamond and then big spike to suddenly I'm a legend player. And like every month it was a huge climb and it was very hard to adjust. And I figured out that I had much less stamina with the game for lots of reasons, that if I wanted to play at a level that was necessary for where I was playing, I couldn't play for hours. I could only play for maybe 2 tops unless I was really in the zone. And I actually did better in the morning, which is hilarious to anyone who knows me because I am a nocturnal creature, except apparently not anymore. And it was something that I noticed, that if I got up a little earlier, once I'd had my coffee, I could think in a clearer way and didn't have any stuff that happened during the day there to cloud me. And so I could sit there and go, okay, this is something that I'm really going to be able to focus on while I'm playing, have a goal for how I want to improve. Because for me, a lot of the fun had become trying to improve and trying to be a really good player. But it worked best when I could, A, recognize what conditions are actually conducive to that, and B, try to really focus on the improvement and not play when I couldn't do that, because sometimes you can't take that step back. But if you're focusing on, well, I want to try, with this Paladin deck, I want to try working on a deck that's not fully refined, where I'm really having to make a lot of card choice decisions, which is not something I've done as much of. It's probably going to mean I don't win nearly as much as I would otherwise. I actually did manage to hit Legend with it, but there was some rough spots in the middle. Or I want to try to play a wider variety of decks. That means I'm not going to master any of them the way that I did Undead Priest or Naga Priest and hit that like 11x high really easily. Or it wasn't easy, but it's also in my memory, it feels like it was really easy. It didn't feel really easy at the time. Sometimes the way that it's hard to remember what it was like to not know what you know now. And it's hard to remember how hard things actually were and how much you've improved. You're winning about half of your games all the time. But part of the reason why, some people really like, say, the Brawliseums is that suddenly you do face a wider range and you're like, oh, well, it doesn't work out well for everyone. Not all of us are Edelweiss, but it can give you some perspective on where you are. And help with your self-talk. Something that a therapist of mine told me, which I absolutely did not believe when he first told me this, but I've come to believe it. And yes, I am surrounded by psychologists. I majored in psychology. It's kind of my milieu. So he said, you can't choose what thoughts or what feelings pop up in your mind, right? You can't, if someone's like, well, just don't be anxious. Well, great. How am I supposed to just not be anxious? Or just don't be mad when you lose? It's like, well, great. How am I supposed to do that? You can't really choose what your unconscious mind brings to brings up for you. But what you can do is not have your conscious mind then go and follow the train more than it needs to. Like, you don't have to indulge it. So it's not so much avoiding it as just being like, oh yeah, I'm upset about this thing, but maybe it's not entirely rational. They always have exactly Embrace of Nature on 1 every single time. Can one say, well, they don't actually have Embrace of Nature every single time. Even though it definitely does seem that way. You are valid if it seems that way. And so you can question is this reality? Just because you thought it doesn't necessarily mean you have to accept it as reality. And also you can not keep following it. And that helps keep the emotion from getting worse. And again, this is easier said than done. But he almost likened it to, if you see a math problem, you don't have to then try to work on solving the math problem necessarily. Like sometimes, if you see like 3 + 4, your brain's just going to be like 7. But if you see like 37 times 121, most people would have to make a little mental effort to solve that. And if you're ruminating on something, you're trying to solve some problem, you're putting mental effort in that you can just not keep feeding that feeling and not keep feeding those thoughts more than is necessary, which might mean taking a break. from the game if that's what needs to happen.
Or it might mean reviewing your game after a game like that, right? Like there's something that I'm not perfect at it, but there are, and I'll do this sometimes even on stream, where it's like if I have a close loss or I have a game that I feel like I shouldn't have lost, then I will just stop and say, what could I have done differently that game? Right? Sometimes it involves, normally on stream, I won't go into like digging into a replay, but like, you know, even if it's just like looking at, well, okay, I did this and I lost the game there, right? Because I forgot to attack, which happens. I have ADHD, it happens, you know, like, I forgot to attack this one time, that one attack made the difference, or I made this decision to do this and I could have done that and it was the right decision at the time, but it ended up not working out, right? Like trying to figure out if there's something that you could have done differently sometimes will help. Sometimes posting a replay for other people. We have the replays channels in the Discord where we can do that too. And there have been sometimes that people have asked me to go through replays, and when I do that, I go through turn by turn. And sometimes you find stuff and sometimes you don't, right? Or you find things that you could have improved that had no impact on the game at all. Like you could have done these 3 things better. It wouldn't have made you win, but at least you could do these 3 things better. But it's like Jared Tendler has been a guest on the show long before any of our times. He wrote the mental game of, is it the mental game of poker? I think it's the name of the book. He's done a few other things. He works with day traders and stuff like that now. But one of the things that he talks a lot in that book about tilt and tilt management, and like injecting logic is a way to kind of stave that off, right? Where it's, if you're starting to say, well, they always have it, then like looking at it and saying, well, do they really always have it? Like, is there, you know, were the odds, like I had some friends in the past who were streamers who were very tilt prone, and they would get upset when an opponent played a card that started in their deck and took them by surprise. And it's like, if there's a card that you know started in their deck, you can't get upset if they're going to play it. You know it's coming. Like, it may not come at a time that you like, but you know that they're going to play Nourish, and if that's going to make you upset that they're playing Nourish, that's what the deck does, right? So it's like, that's the kind of thing that you can kind of, you know, yeah, you sometimes get blown out by RNG and they get blown out by some, you know, ridiculous discover or whatever. But like, if they're playing a card in your deck, like that's something that you can plan for and you can work around, right? And it can kind of help you calm down and not get upset about everything. Like there are some people who, you know, and I'm guilty of this as anybody, who get upset that their opponent is playing cards, right? Like your opponent is going to play cards. Otherwise they've disconnected, and that's not much fun either. So.
Oh my God, I can't believe they foraged on 2 and played Sanitize on 5. Yeah, it's definitely been good for me to use some kind of tracker. And that's why I think it was so bad that week after getting back from the hospital, because I was playing on my iPad all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't even go back and see when I was doing well. It just, you know, hurt all the more when I was doing badly. And sometimes, and not always, but sometimes, you know, when I do have a tracker, I'll look back and see, oh, okay, I lost the last 2 games, but actually I'm like positive on the day. Or at least even, right? Sometimes it'll really feel like you're just getting all the bad beats. Sometimes you'll look at the data and see, oh, wow, yeah, no, I'm doing really badly. And your response then should be, I should stop today, right? Like, today is not my day.
I just have to play until I win is not the right
response. Oh, God, no.
That is a League of Legends player's doom, right? And it's even worse, you know, in League, because the games are 40 minutes. Well, or 30 if you lose quick, I guess. But it's... Yeah, I think my starting to avoid those sort of tilt loops began when I was playing League, because they were so much more damaging to a night, where you would play like 5 games and lose all of them, and that's 5 hours or whatever. So, yeah, you've got to be able to stop if you're on a losing streak.
The way
But-
that probability works, right, is it feels like I'm due a win now, right?
Right.
And I'm due some good luck, and that's not how probability works unless you have karmic dice turned on in Baldur's Gate, which I do not. You are not due the good turn, which is really hard. You know, that's not how we're like evolved to think about things, but it can be helpful to remind yourself that. It can be helpful to look at, like, was this really a bad day? And maybe it was, or maybe you actually even are positive for the day. That's definitely something that I do as well. And one trick that I made was I would get upset when I noticed in the moment that I had made a misplay. It actually helped me to say, you know what, a better, more adaptive way to think about this is I'm recognizing the misplay more in real time. Right? If I can realize I made a misplay right after I make it, that's a lot closer to me recognizing and not doing it in the first place than if I lose the game and I'm like, I have no idea why I lost that game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you know I lost the game maybe because I didn't play around something that I could have played around, or because I didn't take a risk I should have taken. Or maybe you say, I played this, I took a risk I needed to take and they had the thing. And so it didn't work out. Sometimes you lose even though you made the high percentage play. But knowing why you lost, even if it's knowing what mistake you made, is actually a sign of improvement and is actually a sign that you're learning things. And you can also sit and think, did you do something clever? Like, give yourself credit. You remembered to tap first, and that's not something that is easy for you to do. As simple as that. Or, in the listener series, I had a game where I was able to correctly read that my opponent didn't have their board clear and say, well, if I can get them low enough to be in range, just assume they don't top deck it. That's my best shot. And that worked out in that game. And they played it well. They didn't find the board clear. But being able to recognize, like, that was a solid decision that I made that worked out well was also helpful. It's not, improving is not just about recognizing what you did that was maybe not ideal, but also recognizing, like, yeah, you're doing stuff that maybe is harder for you. You slowed down and thought about your turn ahead of time, which I don't do enough of, but is really helpful. Helpful to do. So just giving yourself credit for that, whatever you're doing that you can give yourself credit for.
Yeah. And one other thing is that you feel a loss, I think it's like 3 or 4 times more than you do a win. Right? So like if you lose, if you went win one, like if you won 3 games and lost 2, you'd feel like you could feel like you're not doing so well, especially if the 2 losses were at the end of that 5-game set, right? So it's worth kind of just checking yourself and looking at the actual numbers to see if you're actually doing like as poorly as you think you are right now. And I think that, also what you're saying kind of goes to the kinds of goal setting that you need to do in order to be healthy about it, because like, it's fine to say that I would like to get to legend or I'd like to get to 11x, right? But this is a game with variance inherently in it, both in terms of, what cards you draw, what stuff, gets generated or discovered, what decks you queue into that are bad matchups for you. So setting a goal that relies on results is going to lead to results-oriented thinking, which is going to be the highway to hell, right? So instead, if you're focusing on, I want to learn this deck better. I want to work on my ordering. I want to make sure that I'm not tapping last, that I'm thinking through all of my turns. Like, if you can set that goal and work on an aspect of your game to improve, that you can, set yourself benchmarks to be able to watch for that, as opposed to, well, I need to get to legend by, the end of the month. Well, that may work out or that may not. Right. And some of those factors are out of your control, but you can control how you're approaching the game and how you're playing. And that's a much healthier way to do it. And if you're accomplishing those things, then the ranks follow. Rank is like a trailing indicator. If you're climbing enough to see your rank improving, you're already done the things that you need to do to get your game to that point for your rank to start improving. but you're not going to see rank as like a leading indicator, right? That's going to come after you've put the work in, after you put the games in. You're not necessarily going to see that right off the bat after you've put in the work, right? So that's where it helps to just kind of reframe it. And like that, every time that I've ended up in like the depths of Legend, that's usually the way I've gotten out of it. It's just like, I'm going to work on this. I'm not going to care about my rank. I'm not going to look at the number. I'm just going to try to learn this thing or learn this deck or figure out what I'm doing wrong or whatever. And then eventually I pull out of it. But it takes a little while. And it's the kind of thing that if you're focusing on the number and how much the number is moving, then it's just going to make you more angry when the number goes down.
Yeah, it's not, I want to hit Legend. It's, I want to be a Legend player. And you've got to learn the habits, develop the skills to be able to make that just inconsequential as long as you put in the time, versus just, well, I want to make it there one time, right? Like it's always going to hurt if you're so focused on the number. But if you're just trying to get better, or if you're just playing a deck you really like, and that goes a long way to just sort of accidentally doing the good thing. You keep playing the same deck because you just really love that deck, you're gonna get better at playing it. You're gonna know the ins and outs of like, okay, when they do this, I need to respond in this way, or oh, this is a tough matchup, I just need to go all in and hope they don't have it. And that's not going to work every time, but it will sometimes. And so if you can get those few extra edges in certain matchups because you know deck very, very well, it's gonna help a bunch. But yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten to my highest Legend numbers by accident, like just because I was really enjoying the deck or decks that I was playing.
And that's absolutely what happened with me. And one corollary of that is advice that Hat gave me when I got really, really high with Undead Priest. And I'm like, I am right. I broke into top 200 at one point, and I posted like, I am afraid to play. I would so like to stay here. Is it close enough to the end of the month that I can just stay here? And he said, you can only be a player of this rank if you play there. Mm-hmm. Right? And you can only have that experience. I'm not yet, at least, a player who can reliably be there with any deck, but I can't have the experience of playing in top 200, that kind of meta, if I don't actually hit the button. And remember, if you're on the cusp of 10x or 11x, your reward for 11x is harder opponents on the climb. So you get the flashy number, and you do have the extra star, which is helpful, but I've definitely found I didn't necessarily get there a lot faster when I was 11x.
Yep.
Because the games are harder. So it's not, the external reward is less than you think of having that. I do understand it's very cool. It was really exciting. I don't get it every month, and I remind myself that it doesn't actually make that much difference. The other thing, if you focus so much on the external thing, there's a concept called the hedonic treadmill from psychology. And actually, this is really just a Buddhist concept in disguise. The research psychologists agreed in their research with something that the Buddhists have been saying for a long time, which is if you focus on, I'm going to be happy when I get this external thing, and then you get the thing, you will be happy for a while, but then you'll get used to it. The first time I hit Legend, it's amazing. And then the next few months, now I have to hit Legend, and it's stressful, and it's almost worse. And so what's making you happy is not, or unhappy, is not really what the number actually is. It's how you're thinking about it and what your goal is. So it's totally fine to be happy that you reach Legend, of course. That's a moment to celebrate. But it's not really in the long run, it's your approach and how much fun you're having with the game and how much fun you're having with trying to improve at the game, or just play your favorite decks that's actually going to make you happy, and the intrinsic reward of improving is going to make you happy and not the number. Again, I know that's easier said than done, but remembering that it's not only just it'll make you feel worse when your rank goes down, but it'll also almost make it harder to appreciate in the long run when your rank is good by whatever your personal definition of good is. So that's a concept that is helpful to remember sometimes.
Yeah. And I think like taking it to an extreme, right? When you I think a lot of people, and I've been guilty of this myself, conflate their rank with their identity. And that's what gets dangerous, right? Like if you are someone who plays at high legend versus I am a high legend player, right? Those are two sentences that sound the same that are actually very different, because one is something that you do and something is something that you are. And then what that means is that when you do have a rough patch, right? When you inevitably have a month where you just don't grok the meta and you can't figure out what's going on, you can't buy a win, right? That means that you're losing a part of yourself when you're losing that, if you're treating it as part of your identity as opposed to something that you do, right? And it's harder to keep sight of the fact that you will get that back if you keep up good fundamentals, just because you've lost it in the moment and it feels like you've lost a part of you, right? So trying to dissociate those things and just kind of, appreciate the moment for where you are. And I struggle with this a lot, especially as I started streaming more, right? Because I felt like I needed to be playing at a high level in order to justify the fact that I was streaming and I was podcasting, and like I don't, right? But it's taken me a while to get there, where people will come watch me if I'm sucking too, and it's fine. Like they're not there to learn how to play the game a lot. I mean, some people are, probably. Some people are there learning how to play Priest, and God bless all of you that are there and learning how to play Priest. Probably not 100% the right way, but whatever. But people are there for me, and then it doesn't matter if I'm playing at high legend or if I'm in, five digit legend or whatever. That's not, it doesn't define my worth as a person or as a streamer, right? But that took a while to kind of figure out, and I had some rough times where I was not doing well, and I felt like it was because I was not playing well, that I was kind of losing my credibility at doing the things that I was doing, which I wasn't. But that's where it starts to get very dangerous, when you start kind of building those types of things on top of each other. So at the end of the day, it's a game. I know that, it's a game that we all take seriously, and we all do too, right? Like I can say that knowing that I am someone who will take this game very seriously at times. But it's worth reevaluating that when you do get to that point and saying, am I taking this too seriously? Do I need to take a step back and reevaluate like how much I'm tied up in my performance?
I was under the impression people watched you purely for Schadenfreude.
That also, that may very well be. They may just watch me to see Priest lose. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm basically like the dunk tank of streamers, I suppose. But yes, I guess maybe that's it.
There was a period where every time that I tuned into your stream, you would be in the middle of saying how you'd been on a win streak, and then while I was watching, you'd proceed to keep losing games. So I'm not a superstitious person, but I was almost like I should not watch Wicked Good, because I'm just like, on the one hand, I want to support my co-host. On the other hand, he just keeps losing if I'm watching, and then I take a break and I come back and he's like, oh, we finally got some wins, and then so and on the point of your identity, if you hit a rank high, you didn't get there on a fluke. It may be that, I hit top 200 with Undead Priest in part because I really grokked Undead Priest, and I really knew that deck in and out. And it was also before that deck was, that particular build of the deck was well known, and so people didn't really know what they were playing against, and there was things that went in, but also I played well. I was able to be there. That's how the ranking system works. And so if there's another deck that I really master to that level, maybe that's something I could do again. It's a thing that I did do. even if it's not something that I can do all the time. And when I joined the show, that had been fairly recent, and then I had been feeling like, oh gosh, I can't be on the show and not be keeping this up. And I thought, well, part of being on the show is to have a broader sense of the meta and a broader sense of decks, and that's going to hurt my rank. But it's going to ultimately make me a better player and be more interesting and be less stressful, actually. And so that was really helpful. But I did have that moment of, if I don't have the right number, are people going to want to listen to me? I had to, I know that there are things that I know about this game. I know that I can play at a high level. I know that I can talk to people who play at a high level and maybe are better deck builders than me and try to bring those insights to you as the listeners. So helping to identify myself as someone who works to improve, pays a lot of attention to the meta, has played at high legend, and can play a top level game when I'm in the situation to. That all helped some when my rank is not as good. Although I do have the experience, which my partner describes, when your code doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a programmer, your code doesn't work and you don't know why, and nothing's happening, and you have a deadline, and it's raining, and all the birds are gone, and nothing will get better, and the clouds are covering everything. And then as soon as you find the bug, which was always something dumb, you forgot
Inevitably,
the quotation mark here. The sun comes out, all the birds are singing. So he would say I was a little bit like that when I hadn't reached legend. After, if it was like the 20th of the month and I hadn't reached legend, then I hit legend. So I do get that. But if you focus too much on that, or I focus too much on not only do I have to hit legend, but I have to be in 11x every single month, that's not a recipe for enjoying the game. And I've been enjoying the game a lot more since I've relaxed that some, even though if I do hit 11x, I will be happy. It's true.
I don't know. You were describing a great day, and then you turned to you succeed at the thing, and it got worse. I don't know. I like a good thunderstorm, but yeah, definitely. I think we all been through that, whether it's joining the show or just broadly, where I think it's a universal experience. Like you hit legend for the first time, and that makes you just want to keep hitting it. And it takes a while, whatever your goal is, to just say, no, I'm confident in my abilities. If I don't make it there this time, it's because I was busy, or it's because I had stuff going on, right? Or I didn't like the meta. And now, like, I'm at 8. In whatever mode I've been playing, like I don't know. I have not climbed particularly much this month, and we're a third of the way through, and I'm not stressed about it. Like I might hit legend by the end of the month. I might not. There was a period where I was like, I should be 11x. I'm on the show, and now I'm just like, no, I'm a 10x player because I go off and play random nonsense for half the time, and it's really freaking hard to be 11x when you spend half your time tanking your rank because you're deck building. Like
yeah and my therapist calls that shoulding all over yourself. So the shoulds are the things that get you. Once you start saying should, that's when you need to reevaluate, because that's when you start, that's not meeting yourself where you are. Like taking it all the way back to the beginning. Like that's meeting yourself where you want to be, and you can't meet yourself where you want to be. You have to get there. So once you start saying should, like I should be able to do, I should be playing better than this. I should be able to beat this. Well, but you can't. But you're not. So what are you going to do to fix that? Like, I keep thinking it wouldn't be, I haven't done a good Simpsons reference in a while, but like when Santa's little helper runs away. And Homer says, well, tears aren't going to bring him back unless your tears smell like dog food. So you can either sit there crying your eyes out, eating can after dog food until your tears smell enough like dog food to make your dog come back, or you can go out there and find your dog. And Bart says, oh, yeah, I'm going to go find him. Oh, I thought I was going to get him to eat dog food. But but it's the same sort of thing. Like, you can get upset, or you can, because you're not where you want to be, or you can figure out a way to get there because you're not there, and just getting upset at yourself for not being there yet isn't going to help you get there any faster.
Well, is there anything? I think we've really covered a lot on, and hopefully this has been helpful for, I know that I, as a listener, always really enjoyed the mental game episodes, because I think we get so focused in on the mechanics that sometimes we miss out on also thinking about that, how you approach the game mentally is a huge part of, even if you're just focused on, if you want to be a good player, if you're tilted, you're not a good player. And it's ultimately what's most important in terms of having enjoyment in the game. And nobody's perfect, but there are definitely things that can help. So is there any other closing thoughts?
No, I think just, I know we this is a recurring topic, but I think a lot of times there's a lot of churn in terms of people will be coming to the show more recently because they just started playing Hearthstone recently. And so this may be their first time hearing. And I think for many people, we need the reminder, as described by all of our sort of recent experiences with this subject, mine being childcare related, but
and we always come at it with a slightly different perspective every time we do it. Like, this was this was the topic of what I call episode 0 of Off Curve way back when, which was like a happy Hearthstone that Andrew had me and Hat on to talk about, like, getting to Legend and the mindset, and like the content, the theme stays the same, but the content's always different. And it's, we've all grown, even since the last time that we've talked about this, or gotten, this is the first time for Megasa, but I mean, not talking about this, but talking about this on a podcast. So, yeah.
Right. Well, we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at coinconcede.com, where you can also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com, and write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede, as well as like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/coinconcede. If you'd like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Kresh, Beef Squatch, David P., Walu, Jeremy T., Bottlecaps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, Forgiven One, Enraged Chicken, and Grizzly Bear. Thank you to Conti for your sub during the show. And yeah, Coin Concedes, Wicked.
I'm going to coin concede to my good friend Sean Smoker, who goes by Flying Walrus on various social media, because I've been listening to a lot more music and albums specifically recently, since I've been taking the train, and I've been, going for walks at lunch when I'm in the office, and so I've been going through a lot more albums, and I've been looking for things to listen to. And he reminded me by posting on Blue Sky about a band called The Civil Wars that I had in my collection that I had not listened to in forever. They're so good. They are. If you haven't listened to them, like, go get one of their albums on Spotify. Through him doing that, I went and just, because like I didn't even know they had a second album. Like, I only had their first album, which was amazing. I don't even know how I found it. They're basically like country adjacent duo, but they are so good. And apparently they have a VH1 Unplugged album that, if I don't know, Megasa, if you've listened to that, but they do a cover of Billie Jean on it, which is holy crap.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it is so good. So I've been just like listening to that, like, not like those albums, like on repeat, like nonstop for the last couple of days. And it has brought so much joy to my life. So I am very thankful for him for, reminding me of that, like, little corner of my music library that I hadn't poked at in a while, and bringing that back up to the surface.
I will say I am not usually, I'm not really a country person. So
Me neither.
give it a shot, even if you are not, or it has that folk sense. A lot of the songs are really kind of like subtle harmonies, but still lush sounding. I don't know. Just go.
It's
go
really
find
good.
any song, and it is really interesting what they do with the covers. I have 2 coin concedes here. First, 2 Wicked Good for the Off Curve starter pack episodes. I have a link in the show notes, or it's just offcurve.com/starter pack. And it's a bunch of evergreen episodes from Wicked Good's old podcast, Off Curve, that he did solo. If you were not aware of this podcast, or maybe you're a newer listener, it's, even though sometimes at this point, the examples are from older metas, but they're still really, I can attest listening to some from metas I did not play in, still really interesting listens and helpful. And some of these topics we've been talking about are on there, but a lot of other stuff as well. I also wanted to coin concede to Wintropy, who I ran into on ladder. It looked like they were playing a normal druid, and I thought I had a really good start. I was like 1 turn away from lethal, but it was turn 5. But they played Nightshade Bud, which summons a minion from your deck or plays a spell from your deck, and they had doubled it. So they got Thaddeus out, and then also a Pyrotechnician, 7 fire spells, 7 other spells, and Yogg, all on turn 5, and I died. But I couldn't be mad. I was just... So coin concede to you. That was the most creative way that I have lost in a while.
I want this list.
It sounds like fire.
I'll find the replay. It does sound like fire. And Pyrotechnician, for those who don't know, is a minion that gives you a fire spell when you play a random fire spell. So there was a lot of random fire spells. One of them was like Immolate for no reason, just to get another spell out. Fireballs to the face. It was impressive.
Great. Well, I can't think of any real life ones, so my coin concede is going to be Charlie. Because for those unfamiliar with Twilight Saga, Charlie is the main character's dad. Bella, her dad. And, everyone, I'm sure, during the craze heard about, even if they were not associated with any of this, the whole Team Edward, Team Jacob. I am Team Charlie. Charlie is the best dad. He is so great. And I think it of course helps at this point, being a parent myself, going back and watching that series, and I'm just like, Charlie!
Poor guy's trying so hard.
He's trying
no one's telling him what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, so until next time, keep calm and don't be mad. If you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Okay, I have stopped recording. All right. This is 417?
417. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Who is here?
We really appreciate you all coming out, as always. Let me find someone to raid. Let me see. Raid Rorschach. Oh, Rorschach's playing Warcraft Rumble. I think that should be okay, though.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. We'll do that.
I have to find out more about this game before BlizzCon, I feel like. So at least know.
I have a feeling you're going to find out plenty at BlizzCon, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, we're gonna go raid Rorschach, so go say hi to him, and thanks everybody for coming out as always, and we will see you back here next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Bye.